Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Bob Mendelsohn, and this is the Bob's Your Uncle podcast. Today we conclude part 2 of a 2-part series with Isaac Brickner of Los Angeles, talking about mental health and his favorite places on earth, and what brings him joy. I think that's a good thing to talk about in these days, don't you? Stay tuned. And thanks for joining us for episode 23 of season 3 of the Bob's Your Uncle podcast. I hope you like listening to Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto in E minor. It's one of my favorites. You can now find us and comment to us wherever you get your podcasts. Tell us what matters to you, what triggers your joy, what bothers you in the world. Let us know. We'll see where the Spirit leads us. Whether you're at home, online, on the road with me in your headset at the gym, or out for your evening constitutional, wherever you get your podcasts, that's where we will be. Thanks for being with us these 18 minutes.
But I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this will be.
On this date in history, the 23rd of May in 1929, Australia began a new gold rush in the southwest part of the continent. In 1934, bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde, that's Bonnie Parker, Clyde Barrow, are killed by federal agents in the U.S. And in 1945, Nazi Heinrich Himmler committed suicide after being taken into Allied custody, and that's the historical marker of the week. Last week we began a 2-part series with our friend Isaac Brickner in Los Angeles, and we talked about mental anxiety and metamorphosis and clinical anxiety and chronic. We talked about a wide array of things. If you didn't listen to that episode, please, after this one you hear today, please go back to episode 22 and listen to it. I think it'll benefit you a lot.
With the article is there's kind of a general anxiety that everyone has that's worried about the future. But because of the fast pace of our society now, that worry is kind of exponential, I would say. And lots of mental health professionals have kind of expressed that is the epidemic of our time, is chronic anxiety and mental health crisis.
Yeah, you say this concerning choices in our modern day, and I'm quoting your article. When's the last time you saw a soda commercial tell you what it tastes like? They never do. What's for sale is not a drink, but an identity. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, so I wanted to talk about anxiety from an angle that I think people who even know or would admit that they don't have a clinical form of anxiety can resonate with. That this kind of latent anxiety that exists due to the sheer amount of choices and options that are available to us in the modern day, whether you're going to a grocery store or online shopping or just trying to order something at a restaurant. You could just kind of, put your head in the sand and say, can somebody just choose for me? I'm kind of overrun with all these choices. And it's because of that fact. So the anxiety, I think, that I've noticed is paired with instability in our identity because, and I'll use this term rather like flippantly, late stage capitalism, or you might call it like digital capitalism, where um, in the wake of the gig economy, the person as the user is not the consumer, but we're the product, in the sense that we're being sold things that are supposed to make us a better person or a more like holistic person. They're not selling us products; they're really selling us different versions of ourselves. Um, so when you see like a Coca-Cola commercial, they're trying to say this is the type of person you want to be, and that type of person drinks Coca-Cola. Versus like this is a great beverage, you should choose it next time you go to the supermarket. I think I was appealing to this like natural example of metamorphosis, of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, as an example of something that's ancient in a sense, something that's kind of fixed within the patterns of the world that you can't really change, and yet it's an example of change. Um, and that's a little bit more akin to the type of experience that we as human beings desire to have. And we think that through the various options presented to us, whether it's joining the army or like buying this product or going to this school or having this job or moving to this place instead of that place, that these options will kind of start the metamorphosis process, essentially, like, or be part of this journey of becoming the person that we want to be. And that if we just find the right configuration of options, if we just, pick this path, pick the right path versus that path, that will construct ourselves in a sense. But the suggestion of the article is that who we become is a lot more like the process of a butterfly, of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, that there's a path that's laid out before us, to walk down, and some of the choices that are given to us are a little bit more of an illusion than we'd like to admit.
That's scary. Isaac, you were born in Chicago and you've lived now in Los Angeles for a long time. Is there any place you visited or lived that stands out for you? Israel, Budapest, anywhere? What's your
Yeah.
favorite place on earth and why?
Oh, favorite place. That's hard. Obviously, feel a deep connection to like the land of Israel. Being Jewish and having gone there, my grandparents used to live there. But I think, oh man, favorite place on earth for different reasons, I would have to say either Thailand, like, most beautiful place I've ever seen is the island, Koh Phi Phi. Um, I was there many years ago and walked up this big staircase where you can see the entire island, and thought, wow, I'm going to come back here someday. Still haven't done it, but I'd like to. And then I think, other than that, yeah, like the Galilee in Israel is Mount Hermon. I think is one of my favorite places.
Yeah, you don't have to have a single favorite place.
That's good. You didn't explain that in the rules.
We'll take that back. We'll back up. Your family is well known in Messianic Jewish circles worldwide. I last year interviewed your Aunt Martha on the podcast.
Mhm.
She's a nurse in Detroit, and we spoke about end of life matters, euthanasia, and
Mm.
such. And now you are a father. How many kids do you have?
I've got 3 kids.
Yeah. And when you think about the Messianic Jewish faith, what do you want to instill in your own children?
Yeah, that's great. Well, obviously, I want them to know the Messiah, Yeshua. So I think that, the path to understanding like where Jewish identity goes, not just where it's been, is walking down the same path he did. Um, I think that uh, it would probably be something like having a sense of security in their Jewish identity, that it's not something that uh, changes based on choices, a little bit more like what we've been talking about earlier, that God made them Jewish on purpose, that he didn't make a mistake, um, that there is a purpose behind that, and that especially being a Jewish person who embraces Yeshua as Messiah, um, their their identity and their existence as part of the remnant of Israel, it really it's a testimony to God's ongoing faithfulness in the world, um, and that there's a unique kind of challenge and also gift with that calling.
Besides theological information, what else do you want them to embrace as their personhood?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to have like prescriptive practices about Judaism per se, or like what it looks like to, keep kosher, or do the Torah, keep Shabbat. Although I think Shabbat is essential, um, so that would be nice. I'd love them for them to keep Shabbat. My daughter is training for her Bat Mitzvah right now. That's not something we've pushed on her, but it's something that she's kind of caught a vision for that can be really cool. So yeah, I'd love for them to enter into the Jewish story via their faith in Jesus, um, as Messiah. Yeah,
Cool. Quick answers, if you don't mind.
yeah.
Football or baseball?
Oh, to watch or to play?
Hey, I guess I asked the questions.
All right, let's do football then.
Okay. Coffee or milkshake?
Oh, coffee.
Guitar, electric or acoustic?
Let's go acoustic.
Hebrew or Greek?
Hebrew.
Los Angeles Rams or Los Angeles Chargers?
Rams.
Kansas City Chiefs. That was fun. Isaac, anything else you want to tell the ever growing Bob's Your Uncle International podcast audience?
Yeah, I mean international, that's great. I know you're in Oz. I think I've been really inspired, and in fact, actually quoted him in the article that we referenced earlier. Been really inspired by one of your fellow countrymen, Mark Sayers. Quoted him in the article about this idea of choice anxiety. He's got a great podcast as well. That I don't know why I'm plugging his podcast, but
Well, that's right. Sayers, no,
yeah,
he's got a very good one.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would say if you're in Los Angeles and you want to come check out our cafe, um, Upside Down, right across the street from UCLA, we also have a podcast where we talk about some of these issues. It's Upside Down _ LA.
Why is the name Upside Down?
Great question. We want to like give the idea of like flipping people's perspectives. So people find out that we're a coffee shop that's owned and operated by Jews for Jesus, which causes a little bit of cognitive dissonance. So there's that element, and then there's the other element where they come in and they find out that they can pick what they pay for their drink. So we want people to come in from an upside down world and get things put right side up.
Ooh, deep. And hafuch.
Yeah, Cafe Afuch, the Israeli cafe beverage. We serve that here. So
Hafuch is really just is that a cappuccino or latte or what is that?
it's like a foamier latte, much foamier than your traditional latte.
Hafuch means upside down.
Yes, exactly.
Love it. Isaac, thanks so much. Blessings on you, your family, older family, younger family, and your wife. It's just a joy to talk to you. I've watched you over the decades. I really have a lot of pleasure in watching the man you've become and are yet becoming, all within the framework of that metamorphic line. Thanks so much for joining me. All the best to you.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Every week we read from the #1 bestseller of all time, the Bible. Today is no different. From 2 Kings chapter 21, verse 13, God says, I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria and the plummet of the house of Ahab, and I will wipe Jerusalem as one wipes a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. Do you have an opinion about anxiety, about your own anxiety, or about watching others around you who've experienced such? Write to me, bobmendo@aol.com, or just comment right back here where your podcast and you are talking to each other. That'd be great. I like to have the conversation continue. And speaking of conversation, every day over the last couple weeks, we have been carrying on great conversations in a pop-up shop on Oxford Street, Taylor Square, in Sydney's east. The name of the exhibition, we call it Walls, an art exhibition. We have Lego bricks where people are expressing themselves in building and disassembling a wall. We have a big canvas where people are painting and adding their ideas of what separates us from one another, how we can get along with one another, what we can use a wall to embrace or a wall to separate. So it's been a great conversational time. If you are anywhere near Sydney, I mean anywhere, Kiama, Melbourne, come on by. We'd love to have you. We're open 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day until the 2nd of June. And it is an ample, look, if you can come and be with us, you want to bring a friend and come and see these beautiful art pieces from Perth and from South Africa, from Russia, from Israel, from New Zealand. We've got some fantastic artwork. We really want you to come and experience Walls, an art exhibition. We even have a place where you can video to us, and who knows, we might put some of those on the podcast very soon. Thanks. So come visit us, room 205, that's 205 Oxford Street in Darlinghurst, right near the Jewish Museum. Thanks for being part of the Bob's Your Uncle podcast family. See you next week. Until then, from me, Bob Mendelsohn, when things seem bleak or uncertain, look up to God. He's in his heaven. And Bob's your uncle. Shalom from Sydney.